In a peaceful village nestled among fields of wildflowers, there lived an elderly woman named Mrs. Eliza. She had spent her entire life in the village, tending to her beautiful garden, which was the pride of the community. Filled with vibrant flowers, fragrant herbs, and delicious vegetables, her garden was a source of joy for everyone. Yet, despite her contributions, Mrs. Eliza often felt her life was insignificant and ordinary. She envied the adventurers who traveled the world and the inventors who created extraordinary things. One sunny afternoon, as Mrs. Eliza worked in her garden, she noticed a young boy named Samuel watching her from the fence. His eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Hello there, Samuel," Mrs. Eliza greeted warmly. "Would you like to help me with the garden?" Samuel nodded eagerly and climbed over the fence. As they worked side by side, Mrs. Eliza shared stories of her life in the village. She spoke of the joy she felt planting seeds and watching them grow, the satisfaction of harvesting fresh produce, and the happiness of sharing her bounty with her neighbors. When they finished, Samuel said, "Mrs. Eliza, your garden is magical. You make the village beautiful and keep us all fed and happy." Touched by his words, Mrs. Eliza smiled but replied, "Thank you, Samuel. But sometimes I feel my life is very ordinary compared to others." Samuel thought for a moment, then said, "I want to show you something." He took Mrs. Eliza by the hand and led her through the village. At each home they visited, someone came out with a story to tell. One woman shared how Mrs. Eliza's herbs had healed her child's illness. An elderly man recounted how her flowers had brightened his days after his wife passed away. A young couple expressed their gratitude for the fresh vegetables that had nourished them during a difficult time. At the end of their walk, Samuel brought Mrs. Eliza to the village square, where a group of villagers had gathered. They had created a beautiful display with flowers, herbs, and vegetables from her garden. "This is our way of saying thank you," Samuel explained. "You've touched all our lives in ways you may not see, but we see it, and we are grateful." Tears filled Mrs. Eliza's eyes as she looked around at the faces of her neighbors, each one reflecting gratitude and love. She realized that her life was far from ordinary. Her garden was not just a collection of plants but a source of life, healing, and joy for the entire village. From that day on, Mrs. Eliza embraced her life with a newfound sense of purpose and joy. She tended to her garden with even more love, knowing that every seed she planted and every flower that bloomed made a difference. Her story became a testament to the profound impact of small, everyday actions. She learned to cherish each day and to find greatness in the simple act of nurturing her garden, never again doubting the worth of her own unique life. Mrs. Eliza's story reminds us that even the simplest acts of kindness and care can have a profound impact on the lives of others. Let's cherish the small, meaningful moments in our own lives. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.